So I'm going to continue the message speaking about awareness, but I'm going to take a different approach to Neville's work. Because if you go to the 5 lessons, what he tells you to do is he says, have a desire and then create a scene that implies that the desire is fulfilled. And then he says to bring that desire or bring that scene to the here and now. Now, I agree with that message. I do. I honestly do. However, I think it misses the point still. And the point that is missed is that the entire focus becomes on the desire or the scene or making sure it's implied or making sure the scene's perfect enough or making sure you're desiring the right thing. And there's so many things that could go wrong when you do it that way. Although I think it works, and I think I get the point of what he's doing. But it loses the self, in my opinion. You completely lose the sense of self because you're so focused on your desire. You're so focused on whether or not you perfectly imagined or if you looped it enough times. Or you're so focused on everything but yourself. And it takes away from you. But then at the same time, he'll say that you should do the I am meditation and say I am and repeat that and feel that. And what he's trying to get you to do there is to become formless, as he says, or become labelless. You have no more labels on you. You just are. You're formless. You're just being. And I think taking that approach is better. And then imagining the scene versus focusing on the your desire and then the scene and then the implication and all of that. I find it to be better to come back to the sense of self and then imagining. And by sense of self, I mean your awareness of being. I'm not speaking about a state of mind yet. I'm not speaking about a state. I'm just speaking about being aware. Being aware that you're the awareness behind all the assumptions of yourself that you believe in right now. And then what happens is that when you come back to your sense of self, you find a stillness, a peace. You'll find that 15 minutes, you'll find yourself being very patient and time almost slows down. It's so slow all of a sudden. You don't feel rushed. 15 minutes feels like an hour. Everything becomes calm and slow. And what you're doing is you're finding yourself again because you are stillness. You are peace. And the reason why you don't have that all the time is because you're not focusing on the right tense of yourself. You're focusing on a future tense of yourself or a past tense of yourself. And that is what Neville is doing in the 5 lessons. He's trying to take a future tense and make it a present tense. But I think what gets lost in the translation of things is your sense of self. I really do. I think it gets lost completely because you become so focused on everything but yourself. And that's what needs to be changed. And yourself is what you are aware of being. That's your I amness. That is I am. And so let's give an example. Let's give more of a practical way of what I'm trying to say. We're told to honor this name. Now, as I've been speaking, you know I don't believe that the name I am is a string of words. It's not something you just repeat with, it's not a title you say with your tongue and lips and your voice. It's not that. It's not an English name. It's an awareness of being, and I have to honor that. So honoring this name, or I should say the name of God, and God we can just say we can just define it as the creative power. This creative power's name is I am, which is my awareness of being. So to honor this name, to truly honor it, is to honor my awareness. My awareness of being what? Whatever I desire to be, to honor it, I must actually be it. Not just say I'm it and then feel the complete opposite inside. I must start actually to cultivate a belief that I already am the thing that I want to be. I'm not desiring it anymore. I am it. That's how I truly honor this name. It is the greatest discipline in the world to honor the name of I am. It's not something you just do once. It's truly the greatest discipline. And I am is present tense. It's not I will be or I was. It's the I in the present tense. So you have to find the right tense, and to keep the tense is the greatest discipline. Because to keep the tense, while external circumstances are unfavorable or unfortunate, is a challenge. It's the greatest challenge of all. But if I keep focusing on myself, I'll see that myself is not found in the future. And it's not found in the past. It's found in the right now. It's found in the present. So myself is present. So if I have a hard time focusing on the present, it's because I'm not focusing on myself. It always comes back to self first. And then there's all these labels. And then there's all these ideas of yourself that you start to act out and act from, because you can't act unless you first are. You can't actually do any actions without being. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. So you have to be first before we act, before we be something. And to come back to self, you can do what Neville said, which is repeat I am, and feel yourself to be present, or feel yourself to be formless, which is there's no labels on this state of mind. There's no more stress. There's no more fear. There's not something you have to do externally. It's just being. So we should find being first before we try to change these states. So that's my approach. And if you read the 5 lessons, you wouldn't really get that approach. Although I firmly believe Neville was saying this in his own way. He was saying to bring the future tense to the here and now. But again, what happens is that you lose sight of yourself when you do that. It's very easy to, I should say. At least it was easy for me. I became so focused on wondering if I was doing everything right, if I was doing things correctly. And then what I found is that when you come back to your sense of self in the present, that's where you actually find yourself. You'll see that this is actually what you've been looking for all along. You've been looking to just be. Now, from this point, you can start imagining yourself being something else, but you first need to find yourself being. At least this is how it works for me. And this is how it's worked successfully for me. And it is a discipline. I need to stress that. It's not simple. It wasn't simple for me. Now, the practice shouldn't be stressful. It's actually the opposite. There's actually no effort to it because you're just being. And whatever bubbles up, which it will be peace, it will be stillness. You'll see it's going to be your own stillness. You're going to see yourself as stillness itself. You'll start to see that you already are these things. And it's not about the state itself. It's about you being the state. So don't lose yourself in trying to conjure up this idea and then lose yourself in the idea of how could I ever be it? Or it would be lovely to be that. It's like, yeah, it would be. So start feeling the loveliness of being it. All these things are appropriations of awareness. It's all about honoring this awareness. If I start to despise my awareness and I start to become aware, or I start to attach things to this name of awareness that I dislike, then my inner life, my life just in general will be unfavorable to me. And the way to change that is not about, because what tends to happen is that people imagine future circumstances. They go to the future inside themselves. And then they anxiously, out of anxiety, create a future that is terrible. And then they internally consent and agree to this, that this is going to be my future. And then they come back to the present. And then they try to do everything to stop that from happening, to stop what they just agreed would be their future from happening. They don't see it self done to self. They're trying to stop their own self-created fate. So we always are prophesying upon ourselves. But we'll find by creating all these anxious futures, we don't actually change ourselves. We're not actually changing anything about us because our self is found in the present. The name is I am. It's a present tense of yourself, not a past tense or a future tense. So it doesn't hold the future fears against me. This name, to honor it, it doesn't tell me that I have to have the perfect rearrangement of senses, or meaning the perfect life. It doesn't tell me I have to have the perfect past, or I have to have the perfect future. All it asks of me is to rearrange the awareness. It's asking me to rearrange him or rearrange the I am. It's just asking me to honor it. All the conditions I place upon it are things I'm doing to myself, but there are no conditions. It's unconditional awareness. And a way to practice this is when you go to sleep at night, fall asleep being totally aware of what you want to be. Or just fall asleep feeling present. You'll find yourself to be the stillness you're seeking. It's not found in anything outside of you. And I should know, because I feel like I've gone outside of myself to find it many, many times, and I always was disappointed. Always. And so this name isn't a string of words. I once said this, I can't live like Satan himself and then just say I'm kind and then everything's fine. That's not how it works. I have to actually be kind if that's what I want to be. I have to become aware of being it. And it again, it doesn't hold anything against me. Nothing is held against me. So don't ever feel that you're unworthy of some awareness of being. You can't be. But it is the greatest discipline in the world. It's difficult at times to keep the tense. I know Neville has spoken about that. And I forgot the lecture, but he spoke about how man struggles to keep the tense of himself. And that tense is a present tense being. And you'll find yourself naturally being more patient. You'll find yourself not imagining it in the future. Because you are so centered and present in yourself, when you imagine the scene, it will just feel like there'll be no resistance to it. And you planted a seed for yourself, and then you plant another seed, you plant another seed. And you just do it. So you start imagining from a present state of being, but now you dictate as well what you're imagining. You don't let somebody else, because you have to imagine. So you don't let somebody else imagine for you. No one can eat food for you. No one can imagine for you. So you start to cultivate a new relationship within yourself. A new relationship with desire. You stop putting in the future sense. You stop trying to find yourself in the future. And nothing feels more true to the individual than their own sense of awareness. Nothing feels more true. So when you walk this life, and you walk around in this world of states, this world of awareness of states, the challenge will be when you are in a circumstance that's unfavorable and something knocks you out of the tense, something knocks you out of being the thing you want to be. Can you remain loyal to yourself? That's the question. Faith is loyalty to the desired self. It's loyalty. It's loyalty to the awareness of being. It's a loyalty to the I am. Can I be completely committed and loyal to this new idea of myself? And you'll find yourself to be the one, you are your own commitment. It's all going to come back to self. You are your own forgiveness. You are your own compassion. You are your own freedom. And also you are the bondage. Now, I might not be aware that I'm in bondage to something, but one day I feel it. I feel the pressures. I feel like I need to be freed from this. It's like a egg that I'm becoming too big for. I have to hatch. So you push. You have to push yourself out. There might be resistance that comes that you eventually have to push yourself out. But the way we do it is through our awareness of being. So if I was put in any kind of, you can say any kind of mental prison, if I was put in a physical prison, I would walk around feeling free. But you don't need to be in a physical prison to feel in bondage to anything. Bondage is a mental state. Freedom is a mental state. So I start to be free in whatever world I think I'm in bondage to, the financial world, any world. But I never become free hoping to get freedom one day. I have to actually be free to have it. and then I will no longer desire it. And nothing will stop this expression of awareness, this externalization of awareness. Nothing will stop it. It's the power. It's the power that shapes me. It's the power that shapes my life. Because I make myself out of my own awareness. And changing my awareness is not conditioned upon time or space. Awareness is freed from that. So I don't need the space around me to be a certain way, the circumstance, in a sense, or the time for it to be the right time. It's always available to me to change my own awareness of being. And a great way to practice this is at nighttime, in my opinion. I think when you fall asleep, being the person you want to be, being the you want to be, you start to wake up that way. It carries on the next day and the next day. And you start to fall asleep just being the way you want to be. You'll find yourself, you're going to start to take upon the nature of what you're imagining or what you're aware of being. And so when you're seeking for peace or you're seeking for some type of gain, you have to see yourself as the gain, that you're the peace that you're seeking. It's your awareness, but that's also you. It's just the awareness before the state of mind that you've consented to being. So drop the conception if you don't like it. You don't have to be it. Even if the people around you are the thing and you feel like by you being something new, you will surpass what they are, or you will change. If you change yourself, or you know your life will change and that feels frightening, come back to self. You'll find there's no fear in yourself. And when you live from this position, life starts to form from this sense of self that is not found in the future where it's just anxious. It's found in this sense of peace will start to create in your life because it's already being created in you. And then the lovely things you imagine just will feel even lovelier. You'll accept them just so naturally. It will feel like the here and now because you feel like the here and now. So that's my approach. It's a little bit different than Neville's work, but I actually don't think it is. I think it just wasn't said that way. But I'm saying it this way. This is what I've learned from his work. This is how I would approach it. Is don't get caught up in trying to, in the vain repetitions or always trying to affirm something all the time. Your affirmation is being aware of it, being aware of being it. That's your affirmation. It's in the awareness. It's not by your works, but by this spirit, the spirit of I am. And so I don't want to make this one too long, but I will speak more on this. But I think at least first get this understanding down. And then I'll speak more about, I know everyone wants like a step-by-step, but I think that you need understanding first. Because Neville did give a step-by-step in the 5 lessons, but I still needed to know this before. This would have helped me. It would have helped me a lot from a lot of mistakes. But I've learned from them. And I didn't find myself in the future. I didn't find myself in the future tense. It just created nothing but anxiety within me. Found myself in the present. And so, but again, it's a discipline. Try it even in unfavorable circumstances. That's why I think going to sleep is a good time to practice being aware of being, but you really could do it any time. Being present, being aware of just being. You can do this anytime. And so I'm going to wrap it up here for this video. And I just want to inform everybody, this Friday I'm going live for the members at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to join, it's going to be through the desktop. That seems to be the only way as of now. But I'm really looking forward to it. I've never done a live before. It should be fun to just kind of answer some questions that I see. And if you have a question, either ask it in the comments or ask it in the chat while I'm speaking, see if I can get to it. And that would be the way to do it. But hope to see you guys there. Thank you guys for listening and take care.